call the not special meeting, because I'm so used to saying that, the regular meeting on 8/26 at 7:34 to order. If we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and you have that, Dr. Willett?
I do.
Perfect.
Get that and go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I love it.
There we go.
Okay, approval of the agenda. I believe everything is as is. I don't know if we're gonna have to move that correspondence if he comes in late, or if we should just let it go and see how long public participation and
Yeah.
if need be. So we'll leave it as is.
You need us to move it, Ashley? for
I just don't
later,
know
or
what
no?
time Tony's gonna be here with correspondence, you know, so I
Right.
think maybe
Yeah.
we kind of play it by ear, just go through the public participation, because I don't, I'm sure we got a lot of parents that want to talk maybe.
Okay,
So
sure.
I'd rather not move it unless we need to.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it as is. For the approval of minutes, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of August 5th.
Jacob Mari, I move that we approve the August 5th, 2020 minutes.
HB second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Is there any-
There's discussion. I just would like to clarify in the minutes, because I think that the minutes and the actual meeting sort of are a little bit wonky. So the letter submitted to the minutes by Christina Plord was a little bit, her statements were a little bit misleading. She said in the meeting "I," but the letter asking for more support and oversight regarding the superintendent's decision to open schools, that was actually signed by the chair, Ashley, Jacob, and Rini. So it says "I," but I believe that if we're going to leave this letter in the minutes, we should clarify that it was really a group who wrote that letter.
Okay, I do think that with the letter, I think she intended to just send it as is. And she had called me and asked me if she read it to me and said, would you sign it? So I said, yeah, I will sign it, because I think that the state should provide us with more information. And this was before our meeting actually on that day. And so she did actually send that letter as I. So I feel like that should be how it was sent. So
She
it can't
sent
be
it,
changed.
that's correct. She sent it as "I," but
Correct.
it was signed by
Therefore,
3 people. And when she spoke about it in the meeting, she said "I," but I just think that it should say "we." But if you're just going to, go with what she said and not correct her, then that's fine. It'll just be incorrect.
yeah, I just think that that is actually what she did right. Therefore, I think it does have a reflection as to what was actually sent, and so therefore, with the letter being as is, it reflects exactly what she had said and what the letter is written as. I don't know if anyone else has any other thoughts, but okay. So all those in favor can say aye. Any opposed can say.
I'm sorry, Ashley, I apologize. I didn't hit unmute fast enough.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that, and I get what you're saying, the I versus the we. I think my concern would be that we had, 4 board members. I just think we just need to be cautiously or acutely aware that that's close to forming a quorum. And in her statement, I believe, and please don't quote me, that she says myself and 4 other members, which would equate to 5, which would lead to an official quorum. So I just wanted to make that statement.
Okay.
Ashley, I just have something quick, because I wasn't in attendance at the August 5th meeting. But so I'll be abstaining from the vote, but I just kind of reflecting on this, if we all want to say things like we should be a united front and things like that, this is not a united front when there's only a certain number of members sending communication to the governor and the commissioner. So, you know, that's just a reflection that I'm sharing.
Okay,
You know, if we're going to talk the talk, we need to walk the walk.
perfect. Anything else?
Ashley?
Yep.
Can I just say, I think, Karen does bring up a good point. I'm not sure when the next communication committee meeting is, but I think that this is something that definitely should be, discussed in communication, and this, possibly something that should be taken over by the communication committee for the future.
Okay,
I don't know if they've met this summer, but I just think it would probably be a good idea to get them more involved.
We did meet, but we couldn't meet recently, and Tony's been away, but I'm hoping to get us connected before our next meeting.
okay,
So actually, I just want to apologize because this was in the August 12th minutes, and that's not what we're approving. So we're approving the August 5th minutes. Yeah, sorry about that. We'll talk about that again next week, I guess.
okay. So let's revert back to the minutes of August 5th. And if we could, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed can say nay, or you can abstain. Jacob?
Aye.
Griffin?
Aye.
Dina?
Aye.
See, there's no Rini for you to go after. She's not here. Karen?
Abstain.
Kate?
Aye.
And I'm aye as well. Therefore, the minutes are approved as is. The next business agenda item is the public participation. We don't have Tony the timer. I don't know who would like to put their timer for the 2 minutes. Jacob usually likes to.
I'd be happy to do that.
Oh, okay, Kate. Therefore, we'll have Kate give the 2 minutes, and if you could give the 30-second warning and a verbal one, and if anyone participating can put their name and address ahead of time, and that would be great. So let's go down. Let's get to Rebecca Risley.
Hi, Rebecca Risley, 103 Mountain Spring Road. I'm not sure what Ms. Blord and her colleagues, Ms. Besaw, Ms. Lundgren, and Mr. Mari sought to accomplish in their recent email to Commissioner Cardona and Governor Lamont, but as the subject discussed and action pursued by at least these 4 majority board members, it skirts dangerously close to the illegal caucusing of the majority members without knowledge or input from the minority. By lamenting that the final decision of how to start the school year fell to the superintendent and the Eastern Highland Health District without board vote, did you hope to have the state intervene to force your personal preference of all in for everyone? The parent survey made it clear 48.5% preferred starting with a partial in-person hybrid model. 12.4% chose fully remote, which outweighed the 39.1% asking for a full all-in. So if more Tolland families prefer the hybrid option, why do you continue to discount the validity of their viewpoint? A major reason for our state's infection rate being so low is due to the cautious, careful, phased approach instituted by the governor, and it makes sense that the same will hold true for reopening schools. Sadly, during numerous board meetings, I haven't witnessed many board members exhibiting concern for the well-being of teachers and staff. There seems to be a true lack of care for the teacher's preference, many citing the hybrid model as the most reasonable choice. Our schools are more than just the students and the parents. We have a moral and ethical responsibility to keep our staff safe, healthy, and alive. The email from these 4 members is divisive, dismissive, and rogue to the decisions of our health district's carefully considered
30
decisions.
seconds.
They have used their positions on this board to push their personal agenda to state representatives. Frankly, it's egregious and only serves to reinforce the overall impression that they're not listening to all constituents, simply following what is desired by themselves and their supporters. It is my hope and desire to see this board really work together instead of taking end runs against itself. This email was not in the interest of collaborating as a team to support all of Tolland. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Michelle Harold.
I'll even put my video on. Michelle Harold, 256 Mountain Spring Road. And I just wanted to ask when you planned on finishing your goals for the Board of Ed, because I think, I'm seeing a lot of divisiveness. And I think that if you guys finished your goals, then you can have something to point back to always, that you can all kind of get yourself back to the same starting point. So I just hope that that's going to happen soon, especially with budget season right around the corner. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Let's see if there's anyone else. Liz Costa.
Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot for your time and attention towards the reopening. I'm wondering, we haven't heard anything about the para contract. When are you guys going to be doing that? Thank you.
Liz, did you state your address?
I'm sorry, 54 Josiah Lane.
Perfect, thank you. Let's go to Lindsay.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Summerzaki. I'm at 127 Anthony Road. I do not currently have student or any kids at all, but maybe sometime in the future. And I just want to share my concerns with the way any of this racial justice stuff is being handled by the school board administration. And honestly, the way it is right now, I consider not placing my kids, if I had kids, in Tolland school system. I just want to share some of the things E.O. Smith is doing, my alma mater. So I read an article in the Chronicle. I can send this over to you guys. And some of the things they're doing: all teachers and staff members will be required to complete anti-racist training. School District 19 Board of Education ends its contract with Mansfield Town Council regarding the school resource officers. Curriculum will be reviewed to ensure the voices of Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Ongoing effort will be made to hire more Black staff and Indigenous people of color. A crisis plan will be developed for a more proactive response to racist events in the media. This, to me, is a proactive community that's working on being anti-racist, not our community that gets their panties in a bunch because they want to rename Christopher Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. It blows my mind. Now, I'm a millennial. I'm of an age where many of my peers who are going to be having kids and putting kids into school systems, this is what they want. They want what E.O. Smith Board of Education is doing, not
30
what,
seconds.
Not what, these older folks in the community, what they're speaking out about, who don't even have kids anymore in the school system because they're too afraid of anything to change. So I apologize, and I hope the other board members who aren't here do listen to this public commentary because they might be the ones who need to hear it most. Thank you, and have a wonderful night.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. Is there anyone at this time that would like to further the public discussion? If you could raise your hand.
I don't know how to raise my hand, but this is Deirdre Goldsmith. Is it okay if I just call out like this?
There's no one else with the blue hand. You're okay to go.
Okay. Hi, it's Deirdre Goldsmith. I live at 21 Marlborough Glade. You guys have been doing so much work. I really am very, very grateful for all your efforts. I have a question. I know there seems to be a lot of different issues, one of them being the divisiveness within the Board of Education. And I think a lot of it seems to be somehow rooted in social media. I know that there is a policy for teachers engaging in use of social media to, ensure that it isn't divisive and that it isn't actually impacting children in a negative manner. And I'm wondering if you would entertain maybe resolving to not use social media for the purposes of casual conversation regarding Board of Ed matters. Thank you very much again.
Okay. Thank you very much. At this time, is there anyone else that has, well, if you don't have your blue hand or if it's phone *9 at this time? At this point, we will close the public participation. We don't have our correspondence correctly right now because Tony is not here. I don't know if you would like to move that further.
Ashley, this is Dana. Would you like me to make a motion that maybe we move it post committee and liaison reports?
Yeah.
That way we can go through. Would that work for everybody? I don't.
Yeah, I think that would be good because like I said, I'm not 100% sure what time. He just said he's going to probably be late. And I feel like if we kind of keep on not having them, then it just gets backed up.
Right. Yeah. So if you would like me to suggest to move it, because if we go through this, the student representatives, then Dr. Willett's superintendent report, then we go through our committee and liaison. I think that'll be ample time. What do you think?
I think that would be great.
Okay. Dana Philbin, I'll make a motion to move correspondence to below committee and liaison reports.
Okay.
Kate Howard Bender, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor can say aye, any opposed can say nay, or you can abstain. Jacob?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Therefore, we will move it right before the chairperson's report. So we can just bump that down. Okay, thank you. Let's go to points of information. If you would like at this time, any board members can raise their hand and we can go through the points of information. Kate.
Thank you, Kate Howard Bender. I have 3 points of information. My first point, in light of ongoing racial tension in our country, I would appeal to board leadership to move forward with our goal setting, particularly the draft goal regarding inclusion and equity. I feel strongly that our students and our community is looking to us to have a coherent message and subsequent policies that address systemic racism, sexism, and homophobia in our town and our community. This is an opportunity for us to show real leadership. Since our last goal setting meeting was canceled, the day of the meeting, I would like to know when this would be taken up again. That's my first point. My second point is that I was disappointed that our policy committee meeting scheduled for 6 p.m. was canceled at 5:54 tonight. I was hoping that we could talk about a social media policy for our board members in accordance with the requests of multiple community members. I am also still looking to see the policy committee minutes that Mr. Holt assured that we had regarding a social media discussion, as I don't remember the discussion, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. My third point, it may interest the community that in addition to the letter written by Vice Chair Plord and signed by Chair Lundgren, Mr. Mari, and Ms. Besaw, and partially read into the minutes on 8/12, there was another piece of correspondence sent from our members of our Board of Education. Mr. Holt and Vice Chair Plord also mailed a letter on 8/20 to the commissioner, the state commissioner, regarding questioning the legitimacy of assigning the final decision regarding opening schools to the superintendents. The rest of the board learned of the letter in response from the commissioner's legal counsel when Mr. Holt forwarded the email and response to the entire board on 8/23. I am formally requesting that the chair research and make a ruling about whether this communication from 8/12, in combination with the email dated 8/20 and shared with the board on 8/23, was in fact an illegal board communication, given the fact that 5 of the 9 Board of Education members were involved in official communications regarding the business of Tolland Public Schools. Please provide that ruling to us at our next meeting. I would also request that the members of the board consider consulting with board's legal counsel when questions of legitimacy arise, in keeping with the appropriate chain of command and procedure. That's all I have for my points. Thank you.
And just to clarify, you said 8/12, 8/20, and 8/23.
It's just 8/12 and 8/20. We received it on 8/23. That's correct. Thank you.
Okay. Dina?
Thank you. Hang on. Give me 1 minute. Sorry, I have a little guy at my feet. First, Lindsay, and I don't want to brutalize your name, so I will say Lindsay S. My apologies. I wanted to make sure that you are aware of how to send communication to the Board of Ed, because I'd be really interested in some of the ideas and some of the information that you presented via ideas of E.O. Smith, and you said that you had some correspondence that might be beneficial to us as Board of Ed members. But if you do go on the Tolland Public Schools, the Board of Ed, there is a way it not only lists all of our individual emails, but there is actually a link that says contact the entire Board of Ed. So I would really appreciate it if you wouldn't mind sending some of the information and correspondence to that entire Board of Ed link. That would get it to every single one of us. I am very appreciative of what you had to share. And then, the racial injustice has been quite a hot topic in the town and in the nation right now. So it's always nice to hear additional feedback and thoughts. So thank you very much. And I do look forward to continuing some of that with the policy team, with our social media, as well as policy with civility. So again, I know Tony is far away, but that is on the radar to be discussed. So again, thank you. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email the Board of Ed team. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Karen.
Thanks. So I actually recall, this is just kind of in response to the kind of social media conversation, but being in town for a while, I actually recall a time when elected officials were not allowed to talk about town business outside of town meetings. I personally have been on hiatus from Facebook, and since like early May. What prompted me to do that was witnessing through the lens of a student how the behavior of adults affected them. If we're representing this district, I think it would be good for all of us to remember that we are role models for our students. So first and foremost. And then also, I just wanted to say, back in, I think it was the July CABE Journal, there was a interesting commentary from Donald Harris, who's the CABE president. And just, there's a little piece from his what he wrote in regard to systemic racism. And I think it's important for the board to read that whole piece, but part of it says, he says, I encourage boards of education to have the difficult but necessary conversations. Talk about how we all promote, no matter how innocently it might happen, injustice in the world, if from no other action than by our silence. More importantly, ensure that the children in our care learn how to build a better world, one where leadership is more about stewardship rather than of self-interest. So at some point, I would love for this board to move on and get back to the work that we should all be doing. And this is one of those pieces because our students are asking for it and we should be responding. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Griffin.
Okay, sorry. I just have two things that I want to say. I'm actually surprised that Ms. Plord and Mr. Holt's letters are causing such turmoil with the board. I personally thought that both letters brought up some excellent questions that I'm surprised that my fellow board members, as well as members of the public, wouldn't be interested or wouldn't be interested in hearing the answers to. Whether it was legal correspondence or not, I don't know. I'll admit it. I'm not sure exactly, how that works, which is again why I think we maybe need to defer to the communications committee in the future. But regardless, I thought they were good questions that were brought up to the state government, and that I do think that Tolland, as well as every other Board of Education, deserves some answers as to why the state did do a complete 180 with their decision-making after basically telling us all summer that they were expecting us to go back in person full-time. The other thing I wanted to mention was the social media policy. I know that, Tony's not on this call, but I do believe that is on the agenda at some point to be adding that. And I just wanted to share that personally, I removed myself from every town page. That includes, as a parent, I removed myself from the parent pages as well. It was a tough decision for me because I like to be informed as a parent on the social media pages. I think that most of the time they are really helpful and they can give good information, but it had gotten really ugly. And I felt that the constant kind of berating of Board of Ed members just got old. And what kind of was the final straw for me is when the former board chair, as well as the spouse of a current board member, questioned the integrity of board members as far as whether or not we were going to renew Dr. Willett's contract. And at that point, I said, I don't want anything to do with the social media anymore. To have my integrity questioned on social media, I thought was just wrong. So I personally removed myself. Whether other board members choose to do the same or not, that's obviously up to them. But I just think that it had definitely gotten out of control and that the board members could not say anything to the public without getting kind of, pushback from the public. So I don't know what the right answer is. I guess it kind of depends on how much you can handle as a board member and what you want to say on social media. So, for those of you still on there, I wish you luck. And if you question things, I hope, or you answer things, I should say, with facts, I hope that you get treated a little bit better than I did. Thank you, Ashley.
Okay, let's go to Jacob.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. So again, as is pointed out, I did sign Ms. Plourd's letter and I stand by what she had to say. Unfortunately, she's not here tonight, but I'm sure that if she was, she would defend it as well. Anyway, as far as, whether there was any sort of legality issues, again, that was not something that came to mind when I signed it. If there is, I'm looking forward to Ms. Lundgren decides to look into it, what you'd have to say. And if I need to apologize for something, I'll apologize for it. However, I won't apologize for the opinions that were expressed up in that letter. And I've made it clear many times that I don't think PIP is the best method during these meetings, and I continue to feel that way. And I think that it is entirely appropriate and good to express that to the state. At the same time, however, I've also expressed repeatedly at these meetings that I will still work with this plan that Dr. Willett has put together to try to make it work. I'm meeting with him later this week to help discuss some of my concerns that I have in particular with him with it. And I will continue to do that as often as I need to, because I want to make sure that this works. That being said, that doesn't mean that we as board members shouldn't express some of our concerns about what's going on at the state level and what we would like to be done better. And that's it.
Thank you, Jacob. Let's go to Kate again.
Yeah, just a couple points of clarification. The Communications Committee does not create policy regarding proper procedure for majority Board of Education communication. Roles and responsibilities are articulated by the legislature, and it's expected that we're going to follow them. So that's just a clarification. The other thing is that the social media policy for the Board of Education members is not currently on the policy tracker. As a member of the policy committee, I can verify that they are not there. Just FYI and pieces of information. Thank you.
Okay. Dana?
Okay, thank you, Ashley. As far as the letter, I will say personally, I'm not questioning the rights of people to have different opinions and reach out. I think what disturbed me the most as a Board of Ed member is I feel that we could have presented this to the commissioner or gone through the appropriate chain of commands and the proper channels of correspondence as the Tolland Board of Education. Whether or not we have differing opinions, I'm not saying that the answers and the information responded to would not be something I would or would not want to hear. Questions in all aspects of all points of view, and especially in regards to this situation, need to be asked so we can continue to educate ourselves and make the appropriate decisions for the Tolland public school system and the students. I think what was inappropriate was the fact that it wasn't brought up as an entire board. and we didn't have a united front in supporting our superintendent and the Tolland public school system is what we were going forward with. That's what is most concerning me as a board member. I wasn't even, no matter what my opinion has been for partial in person, all in or not, I was not even reached out to as a Board of Ed member from any of the people writing the letter to see if it was something that I'd be interested in discussing or corresponding or signing. So therefore, that already has some divisiveness and immediate not allowing me to collaborate if I wanted to collaborate or not. So that's why I think that this should have been handled in a board room. And if that letter was to be sent out, or any letter for that matter, should have been, everybody should have had the ability to collaborate on that if needs be. So that's where it is. It's not the questions, it's not what was asked for. It's just finding the proper protocol and making sure we're being inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Will, I know there were some questions too. I didn't know if you wanted to touch base on to the para contract or anything that was out there, because even like the Board of Ed goals, because I do think we should do those in person, and especially with the track meeting, there was a lot of parents that were writing in about track to have that done. So I think like I'll let Dr. Willett take over.
Sure. Yeah. So para contract, we are trying really hard. We're trying to get together. So our negotiations team has reached out and will continue to reach out. I know that the para union, the president is doing great, and they're trying to get it, get the situation set up. So we are trying to get those negotiations set up. It's just a matter of the whole COVID thing, I think, has put everybody into a backlog. So I know that their parent union is we're waiting for contact from them too, and we're going to get that worked out, and we're going to get together, but everything's been backlogged, and so that's kind of what's happened there. So we are in the process of setting that up and getting that going. Let's see, I'm just trying to, okay, so Lindsay, to Lindsay's comments, and I appreciate her coming and sharing, tonight. It's really important to hear those things. And we, in the Tolland schools, we do have a number of efforts we've been making, but there's always a lot more we could be doing. And right now, every 2 weeks or so, I'm meeting with a group of graduates that are helping articulate some new ways forward that we can do in Tolland, and I'm looking forward to working with them and with the high school and other schools to implement very similar things to what Region 19, which Region 19 is E.O. Smith High School, very similar to what Region 19 is doing, as well as some other initiatives of our own. So very important to hear all of the voices. Lindsay, thank you for coming and sharing tonight, and we're going to be working to do everything we possibly can, and I appreciate you sharing. I think I'm just trying to make sure I'm not missing any points of information. I think we had the paras. Lindsay, was there another question out there that I'm missing?
The rescheduled date for the Board of Ed goals with Nick in person.
Oh yeah, well that's in process right now. We had to reach out to Nick to try to find a new date for that. I think we're all aware of how sometimes scheduling 9 people is like getting the herding cats. So we're in the process of doing that. We might end up having it be one of our future board meetings because that is time that's already there. So we'll get that worked out soon.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Willett.
Sure.
Let's go to the student representative report for Simmer and Alexandra.
Hi everyone. So we don't have that much, but middle and high schoolers got their schedules delivered this week for the upcoming school year, and Alexandra can add on.
So the freshman orientation will be held on Monday, August 31st, and THS is providing both an in-person and remote option for students to participate in. I think that's pretty much it.
How about some excitement that you got your schedules? Yay! But no teachers yet. No teachers are listed. Which Dr. Willett.
Yeah. That's the big reveal. That's the big reveal.
The big reveal for the superintendent's report, which is next. you know, all the families had received their assignments, and I already reached out to you earlier today because I really think that a lot of parents are looking just to see what the whole day is going to look like for their students, whether they have A day or B day. And, you know, there's so many questions with the kindergartners and, like, you know, the high school, like I said, they don't have teachers on there. And so, especially freshmen, I have a freshman and it's like, okay, well, here you go. Enjoy. Don't know where I'm sending you, but you're going.
I know. Okay, so we'll jump right into that. Let me just scroll down here real quick. So what I did this afternoon, or in the process of doing, is putting information out to the community on the blog. As many know, the first, usually the Monday or first or second day of the week, I put out a superintendent's bulletin. So each Monday, Tuesday, I'll put that out. I'll also do more daily updates in the blog. And so there are some pieces of information there that I think people will find useful about how K is working, how transportation works for K, the first week of school, things like that. So I'll go over it a little bit now, but I'll also be posting more information over the next 24 hours about that. And August 31st, most of our all of our schools will be putting out communications that should answer a lot of questions about the kinds of things that are popping up in people's minds right now. So that's the plan, is that by Monday they'll be reaching out and people should have most of this information, if not all of what they're looking for. But I will go through briefly some of the pieces that probably are in people's minds. And like I said on that blog, if you go to the superintendent's, if you go to the district site, drag down to Superintendent Willett, on the left side of the menu, there's the blog, and there's the bulletins, and there's the plan, and there's a new site called the Pandemic. It's a continuity of learning site for 2021. We'll have a lot of links for people as well. So I'll share some of these things as I'm discussing now. So just as a basic overview, and I have to get all these little windows aligned so I can open it all up without it crashing and blowing up. But just a basic overview that kindergarten, when you're looking first week of school, and we'll start with K and we'll kind of work our way through. Kindergarten will, on Tuesday, September 8th, AM students will attend in person on the early release schedule. And on the blog, I did put what that early release schedule is. And PM students will be working asynchronously in a remote manner at home. But what's going to happen is the school is going to be reaching out with information to the parents and guardians and the students. Of course, at that young level, it's mostly parent guardians. And it's going to give them the information they're going to need for Google Classroom. And then they're going to receive a Google Classroom notification. And in that notification, talking specifically to K now, parents of K kids, that information about the links and everything that's needed to get into the remote learning will be part of that initial communication. So Mr. Swanson will be sending something out early next week that's going to have in it what to look for. And then subsequent to that, this Google Classroom email and blast will go out, and it'll have all of the contact and all of the remote learning pieces. So if they're starting as a PM student, they're going to get AM and PM students will get this information at the same time, but on that Tuesday, the parent guardians will just click on the links and it'll open up the classroom, and all of the information will be there for them to start too. So AM students will be in person, PM students will be doing the remote, but all that information will be sent out early in the week. And so for Tuesday, September 8th, it's the AM in person and PM doing it remotely. And it is it's going to end at the half-day point. Tuesday, AM students attend in person, and it's the same general structure as the rest of the year, but it's a shortened week. So Wednesday in this particular first week will be slightly different in that AM students are attending in person. A Wednesday on a typical week, everybody's going to be remote, but because it's a shortened week, AM students attend in person on that Wednesday, September 9th, and PM students do their second remote day on Wednesday, September 9th. On Thursday, September 10th, PM students are now in person. on the early release schedule, and AM students are working at home remotely. And so similarly, all that information for them logging in and getting in will be available and sent out early in the coming week. And Friday, September 11th, again, PM students will attend in person, AM students will be doing asynchronous or remote learning from home. So that's how the first week works for kindergarten. For first grade and for first grade through 12th grade, and then I'll address some special education as well. But for first grade through 12th grade, general education, Tuesday, September 8th, A group is in person and B group is remote. Early release schedule. The staff remain in the building all day, but the kids leave in the A group on early release, and the B group are remote. On Wednesday, September 9th, A group is in person and B group is remote. Again, it's on an early release schedule. The difference for Wednesday is that at that half-day point, teachers will also, or staff will also go home and work from home while we clean the buildings. Because as you recall, as part of our plan, Wednesdays were a deeper cleaning day. So on that first week, Wednesday, September 9th, when the half-day point comes, the A group who's in person goes home and the staff goes home around the same time. B group is remote. And again, they will, they'll basically, they'll be ending their day at the early release point, but staff will continue to work. They'll just be working from home. And that will be a cleaning day. Thursday, September 10th, it flips, just like it will during that week. The B group is in person and the A group is remote. That's Thursday, September 10th, and early release schedule once again. And the students end their day at the early release point. Staff remain the entire day at the school. And Friday, September 11th, B group is in person, A group is remote, and the early release day is in effect again. And staff remain in the building, but students end their day at the early release point. The schedule is included on the blog, and I'll include it in the newsletter that's coming up. So it basically works very similar to the way that our standard schedule for partial in-person will work every other week, but it's truncated into those 4 days. So the Wednesday, which would normally be a remote learning day for everyone, is instead going to be, kind of a shortened day where staff goes home in the afternoon, and that's when that extra cleaning happens. But that A group will be in person. So I posted that on the blog, and it's probably easier to read than to hear recited like that. But that's basically how grades 1 through 12 work in kindergarten for the first week. Students of special education, they will typically be on the first week. If they have an IEP that comprises 75% or more of their time, more of their academic plan, then they're going to be considered a student of special education with a 75 plus IEP. And those letters have already gone out, so people should have a sense of who they are, and they will be AB groupers. They attend 4 days a week on the early release schedule: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday that first week. And Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday are early release for students. Staff remain in the building, same as what was described before. And Wednesday, they're on the early release schedule, and the staff also go home. Staff in the special education department also go home. So it's similar to general education. But they're going 4 days a week, just like the kindergarten groups would normally go. So that's generally how the first week pans out. The full partial in-person schedule is also included on the blog and has been put into the bulletins in a few places. So it covers what happens on a typical week during the hybrid. What I just covered was the first week of school, that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, September 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. So that first week is a little different because it's all half days. The Wednesday, there's a little bit more cleaning on that day. And, it has a little bit different of a situation going on in kindergarten, but that's generally because of the shortened week. And so once we get into the following week, the standard schedule for partial in-person goes forward. And from there forward, it's as has been published both in the plan and in the blog. So that should give just a basic sense of how it starts. And I know it's there's constant questions that pop into people's minds about this. Yesterday I had another one of the open forums, and we're going to have another open forum again next week. Parents are free to jump on and ask any questions they want. And typically I'll hang around until the last hand or last blue hand is up, so to speak, and go through all of them. And I think many also were texting and calling, and we're giving information to them as that happens. So I got questions today about cafeterias and special education and all kinds of other things. And I think I have responded to all of them to this point. And anything I get, again, I usually take between 8 and 24 hours to get a response out for those texts, but you know, keep them coming, and I'll keep getting those answers for people, and we'll do that also in those open forum meetings. So that's generally how the first week of school is going to pan out for the K, for the grades 1 through 12 for special education. And you know, in general terms, sports and a number of other things, I would encourage people to continue to look back at the blog quite frequently. Also look at the continuity of learning plan and kind of, you know, visit it once in a while or once a week if you can, because a lot of the stuff from the state is changing, and a lot of things right now are you know, are constantly in a state of change. So you know, Addendum 7 was one of the most recent changes to music and band and things like that. More social distancing needed, and a lot of other requirements that are going to change how we approach things. So we're going to have to modify band in Tolland Intermediate School significantly because of Addendum 7. We're going to have to do some other modifications. We're still going to have band 6 through 12, but you know, Addendum 7 is going to affect it. Also, CIAC has put a kind of hold on sports until the 29th now. So we're waiting. And as you may recall, for those of you who've been following it, it was the 17th, and then it was the 24th, and now it's the 29th. It has to do with interactions with the Department of Public Health. And so as these things get resolved or closer to resolution, I'll continue to update the plan. The plan's about 84 to 88 pages at this point, but you can jump to different sections of the plan. And in the blog, I'll usually refer to page numbers. So, you know, at this time, you know, we will be entering soon the first evaluation period that ends September 28th or so. And at that time, and getting close to that time, we'll be making another, you know, we'll be looking at, you know, where the school district will go for the next evaluation period in consultation with the Eastern Highland Health District and others. So we're starting with the partial in person, as you know, or people that have opted into the remote. At this point, you know, we've gotten those groups pretty well defined, and we're starting to work with them. We're starting to develop community groups that we'll be sending out information on soon, community support groups. We have administrators identified that will be working for the remote learning program, and that's Mark Rudy for general education, and Wendy Cody, who's special education. They're both the coordination for those areas of the remote learning program. And we're working out right now, working to create staff that will be the school-based coordinators. And these terms and all of these things relate to the Tolland Pandemic Continuity of Learning program that's published. That document has all of what I'm talking about in it right now. But we are identifying teachers that will actually work in the schools as coordinators for supporting remote learning. So we have you know, resources dedicated to that. We have people moving towards it. We recently received a grant through the state that we're going to acquire a large number of Chromebooks and PCs. So we should be able to, once we get those in hand, we should be able to make some meaningful changes in how we're approaching things, you know, in terms of providing resources. So we have a lot of really positive steps that are happening right now from the standpoint of gearing up to have the remote learning resources and have the partial in-person and in-person resources, get everything in place that's in that plan, get the community supports out there. The schedules, as you know, the A and B assignments are out there. And next week we'll be sending out around August 31st, the final letters that give everybody the rest of the information they're looking for. When we do send out this information, it will be coupled with the Google Classroom info and links. So when if you're a student in grades 1 through 12, or if you're a parent guardian of a student in grades 1 through 12, on or around that time, you are going to be receiving the Google Classroom information for your son or daughter and all of the related links for each of their teachers. So you should, well before you get too deep into next week, have all the information at your fingertips about what's going to be necessary to jump on remotely when that time comes. So when they're going in person, obviously they get on the bus and they go, but by early next week, you should have all the information you need to jump on the links for the remote. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I'll take a pause for a minute and see if we want to go further into any of it. But that's just sort of a general overview of the first first week of school and what you can expect for communications, what should be coming out early next week.
I did have a quick question. When you were talking about identifying the staff as teachers for coordinators and things of that nature, how are we looking in terms of staff with the paras, if they're doing remote or not? Like, 'cause I know some students have them in their IEP. Like, how is this, how are we making sure that we're ensuring that students are getting what they need to have?
Well, right now, every district in the state is struggling with, with a certain amount of transition. So we're not alone in that, but we do have a number of people who are making decisions about what they want to do. So, that includes paras and others, and that includes people deciding to take leaves of absence, people deciding to, that it's the right time for them to retire, things like that. So we are experiencing some fluctuations with respect to people making decisions about how they want to, handle their life and what they want to do. And so sometimes we can work with people and, and we can work on accommodations, and sometimes those individuals can help be part of our remote learning program. Other times people are just not, they've decided to do something different or retire or, or that type of thing. So we are in a situation where, we're going to begin the year and we're going to do, fine, we're going to cover the bases, but we are noticing some transition and we are going to have to cover for it. And we have done a lot of interviewing in the last few days, and we put a lot of info out there to hire people and replace people. It's an extremely busy and challenging time, but I will tell you that, we're all dedicated to making sure that the school system is going to be vibrant and there and running for the kids, and that's why we came into this career, and we're going to make it happen. But yeah, there's going to be fluctuations right now. People are making decisions about things, and we're reacting to that.
Thank you, Dr. Willett. I will go through the list here. If you have your hand up, keep it up if you have something to say, or if your hand is just up just to have it up, then you can take it down. So Karen?
Yes, thank you. Left mine up there. As far as the conversation around schedules and teachers, it's been my experience that I guess the lower grades would find out their teachers ahead of time, but at the high school level, it's been my experience that I think freshmen find out during orientation who their teachers are, but for the older grades that they just find out when they get to school. So I don't know if you want to clarify that, Dr. Willett, but that's been my experience, and I don't know, that's just the way it is. So I don't know that shining a light on that right now during a pandemic is really productive. For the lower grades, yes, I think that it's important that they want to know who their teacher is, and that's always been done. But yeah. And then Dr. Willett, I just had a quick question about you were saying about sending out the links for Google for the remote learning. Will high school students get that sent directly to them?
Yeah, so it's called
a experience that they manage their schedule and they should be getting their information.
Yeah, it's called a Google Classroom invite. And the reason why many may know who their teachers are is because you have to know who's inviting you. So what's going to be happening is those are going out early next week. And most, I believe that by August 31st, most of the questions that are out there about, how to access the remote learning and whose Google Classrooms they're being invited to and all of that, that should be getting managed and become very clear early next week. And the principals will be sending up either pre or post follow-up information, depending on the school level, around the same exact time. So you're looking around August 31st and September 1st for all of that to be coming out. And I think people should have everything you're talking about by that time.
So are you, I know you said you're going to be putting a lot of information in your blog or whatever, but so you'll be kind of saying what you said tonight, just to give everybody heads up, like keep a lookout for this information.
Yeah, so right. So most of, I posted quite a bit of info. In fact, as we're talking, I am posting this, and
okay.
I will post that August
You're
31st. I am. It's real time. It's real time. How exciting. These are the things that I get excited about these days. So yeah, I'm posting right now that Google Classroom invites will be going out on or around August 31st.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Let's go to Dana.
Hi, thank you, Ashley. First of all, Dr. Willett, thank you to the entire Tolland Public School administrators and faculty and staff for getting all of the information out last week to the folks with their cohorts and such. I know it was quite a daunting task. It didn't go without any bumps, but I think that everybody was, working with the administrators to get any of their questions clarified and answered. And the folks, the staff, specifically Birch Grove that I interacted with, were empathetic, sympathetic, kind, and patient and trying to do it. And I couldn't imagine being in their shoes trying to complete this daunting task for Friday the 21st, getting everybody those cohorts and that information. I was appreciative as a Tolland Public School family member, but the feedback that I received, that families were appreciative that was done as quickly and promptly as possible with as many students as we have, and attempting to work keeping family members together and twins together and siblings that have different last names and so on and so forth. So without beating a dead horse, I just wanted to say thank you to all those involved. And just to clarify, if people have questions or if they're concerned about something that's going on, the best places to go for resources would be the continuity of learning plan, as well as your blog, because those are going to be kept up to date in a timely fashion with everything that's changing so much. I think the concern that a lot of folks have is the uncertainty of everything changing. So if we have points where we can make sure that people are getting directed to, and if I'm understanding what you said, the continuity of learning plan and your blog would be the best form of information other than direct correspondence to you or their school. Is that correct?
Yes, so definitely. And one other thing to look for is if you go to the district site, which is www.tolland.k12.ct.us, there's a district dropdown. And if you select Superintendent Willett off that district dropdown, on the left side of the menu for my page are a lot of different resources. There's the blog, there's the bulletins, there's the continuity of learning plan, there's the website for it. So there's a lot of stuff there on the left side of the menu. And I think among the most useful right now will probably be the blog, because things are happening so fast. I can't, once a week bulletins just don't keep up with everything. So
Right.
that blog will be the most frequently updated thing, which with then followed up by the bulletins and all of that. So I think that I think those will be helpful. I also, just really briefly, while we're on the topic, this particular site is just been put up. It's on the left side of the menu there. It has the continuity of learning plan. It has registration. It has mid-period and hardship requests. It has the support groups are going to be listed there, more COVID info, Chromebooks, and tech support. So that site right now, the top menu items are going and working. I'm in the process of linking up and building up the bottom 4 options too. But as we get into next week and before school officially starts for students, all of these options will be live. So right now the top row is, and by next week the bottom row will be live too. So that's one of the sites too that are linked off the left side. And so that's why it's, going to the district site is also a way to do it.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Willett. I'm definitely appreciative again of the staff and such. And I don't know if this is going to be part of your report, but talking about that grant that we received as well. That's some fantastic news for the Tolland community. So thank you.
Sure. Yeah, and the grant, I made brief reference to it, but it looks like we're going to get over 800 devices, so 300 some odd Chromebooks and 500 some odd PC laptops. So we're just right now we're just waiting on the final details of that, and that's a huge win for Tolland. So that's great.
Thank you. I'm good, Ashley. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Willett.
Let's go to Kate.
Hello. Thank you for the blog. That site looks really nice too. Thank you for all that. That's a lot of work right there. But I actually had a couple questions. Seen a lot of questions on, on the school pages, and I have just kind of like a teachery question because where my brain goes sometimes. Is it possible, doable, etc., for there to be a some kind of a training for parents to learn how to navigate Google Classroom? Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, we are in the process of putting one together that we'll post. And there were some resources last year, March, April, May, that we're going to put on that site I just showed you. But we'll re-up them, and we'll also offer some training for parents, guardians as part of that.
Okay, thank you. I have one other question. A huge concern that brought up in our meeting yesterday. Your open forum, and then just kind of like, since we might have different folks at this meeting, there's a concern that there should be a good balance, at least, between synchronous learning, aka live classroom time, and kind of like independent work. So can you speak to that at all? What the plans are? Is that more like a school-based thing, or will there be more synchronous, aka kids and teachers interacting real time?
Sure. So, in March, April, and May of last year, we had, we were all thrown into this. It was, it was just the best that everybody could do. But knowing that we've had this time to prepare, and the state of Connecticut has expectations as well that far more of the learning that will be part of this coming year will be synchronous. For those who are remote learners, and should the situation occur that we, have to all go into remote learning, the synchronous learning aspect of it, meaning, and these words are always funny, it's like the military. There's all kinds of acronyms and terms we use. So synchronous really means what we're doing right now, live. We are doing this in real time. I'm talking, you're hearing it, I'm sharing, you're seeing. That's really synchronous, happening, at roughly the same time. And so more of the learning will be like this. Pre-K to, and I'll truncate this a bit just to not prattle on forever, but I do extrapolate a little bit more during the open forum meetings that I have. So just in shorter form here, pre-K through 5, they're going to be in a situation where they're probably about 50-50. There'll be synchronous learning, and then there'll be certain videos, certain things that they show them. They'll be giving them breaks. The teachers are working really hard and learned a lot from the spring of last year about what students can handle. Also at that age, pre-K through 5, we know that there's a heavy weight on the parents and guardians. So we really have to be mindful, and are going to be mindful that, asynchronous parts of that have to be there. There's going to be some things that maybe they can't do right away, and, they can do, not real time. But there'll be more of people seeing their teachers like you're seeing me. More of that live synchronous stuff going, and then interspersed in it for pre-K through 5 will be, pre-made videos, pre-made content. There'll be stretch breaks, then coming back. There'll be a schedule. where the kids are, in to see live things, then working on things independently, then coming back. And so we're working to find the right balance. The state of Connecticut and other places feels like that balance is about 50-50, and we'll figure it out. We're going to be making that, the teachers, they're the experts, and the parents, they're obviously the experts of what they can make happen at home. And we're going to find that happy medium. But one thing that I can, guarantee is that there'll be more synchronous learning, more live learning. Not so much that it causes all kinds of problems for families, but enough that the children will have a much better connection than they did, say, in March, April, May, when people were struggling to make it work. We have the technology now. We all have the cameras, we'll have the Bluetooth headsets, we'll have the mics. So we're in that place where we can make it happen more than we were March, April, May. So that's how that's going to kind of pan out for pre-K through 5 in a more truncated form. And I can extrapolate anytime in our in the virtual forums. 6 through 12, we're going to be doing more synchronous than that, more live than that. The kids can handle more live than that. There's a little bit more interactivity. They have a little bit more staying power. They're used to some of that. The assignments should be very similar or the same for anybody who's remotely or in person. And, the teachers will be doing kind of what I'm doing now with some groups in person, some groups online. We did a board meeting like that recently where some of the members were in my office and some of them were online with all of the people from the public. So it's a kind of a combination like that and more of it when you get into the 6th through 12th grades. There will be some pre-made videos. There'll be some videos. There'll be some content. There'll be some asynchronous stuff, but there'll be more of the live stuff going on, especially 6-12. So it's going to be a combination there too, but it'll be more of the live than it is in the pre-K 5s because the kids are capable of that, and it'll be a little bit more seamless that way. But again, it's going to be about finding balance, and teachers are going to be working hard. They're the professionals. They're the experts. And they'll be, creating some cases, videos ahead of time, showing those, maybe doing a live check-in. Do you have any questions? Do you have any comments? Have some dialogue, back to some other content, and in and out. And at the high school, it has 84-minute periods, so you can't have a straight person talking like me for 84 minutes. We're going to have some content interspersed in there, the videos and the projects and things, and then coming back to live, interspersed throughout that. Or at the beginning and the end and so on. So it really is going to be a lot more of the live things happening than in March, April, May of last year. But the balance will be struck. And assessment will be very similar to what we do in traditional assessment. So that's not going to change. Last year in the March, April, May zone, there was a change in that. We're doing all of what you see in our traditional Tolland grading structures. They will be in place as if any other in-person year without COVID. That assessing structure will be the same. The one caveat here is that the state of Connecticut has made it clear that it wants us to begin school without standardized assessments. So without benchmarks and unit assessments and all of that. The state of Connecticut has been very clear that it wants us to start with social and emotional aspects when we come back in with the kids, doing more progress monitoring, not hitting them with long, huge tests at the beginning. So the first 4 to 8 weeks are going to be more about, progress monitoring, seeing where kids are at and adjusting, and not giving some of those larger, heavier assessments. That's by state directive. It's there, we have to follow, but it is in the best interest of kids to get them back in and make sure everybody's doing okay. So that's how it'll look like in the landscape of the first few weeks, and that's how more or less the asynchronous kind of matches up, if that makes sense.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that information. There was something else that I thought of, and now I've forgotten it. So it will come back, and I appreciate your answers.
Okay, no problem.
Oh, I remembered it. I'm sorry. What are they Are you using Zoom or like the Google Classroom, Google Meets thing?
Yeah, we're using Google Meets for some of the PPTs, IEPs. We know that Zoom is very popular in many places, so we we'll use Zoom for PPTs and some of that. But for most of the student interaction with teachers and all of that, it'll be Google Meets. So we also now have Google Enterprise. So that expands the capabilities that we have and that the teachers have with classroom. So, a lot of really positive things, and we're prepared in a way now that we were not prepared in spring.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks,
Sure.
I'm all set.
Okay, let's go to Jacob.
Thank you, Dr. Wilt, for giving this update. And again, I'll just thank all the staff that have worked so hard and are going to be really working hard as we begin the school year. I know that there are a few of them on this meeting. I did have a couple questions. One's a follow-up from the previous meeting, which has to do with PPE distribution. I know a couple meetings ago I had asked you about this, and you said that we were getting the supplies about, I think, 4 days after that meeting. I'm just curious where we are with distributing those goods.
So we, at this time, all the teachers should have it. That was distributed earlier in the week to the teachers. On the blog, I posted an update about our distribution to community. Right now, it looks like it'll be September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Weather permitting, the times would be about 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And parent guardians would basically just do a drive-through pickup. So on any of those 3 days, they can drive to the high school, take a hard right. There's a little traffic pattern I put in the blog, but I'll be sending this out in an upcoming bulletin as well. But that's why the blog is kind of great, because you can see it before it hits the Monday bulletins. So they'll take a hard right into the high school. They circle around to the back where the athletic fields are. There will be people there distributing the packages of PPE and checking off the names, and then parent guardians will just drive right back out. Anybody who can't make it on any of those 3 days, and we'll work to find a way to help. But those 3 days would be our main distribution days. It looks like we could probably do about 43 seconds per car, which means that should work pretty well from the standpoint of getting people through that. And we're used to having that traffic pattern. We've used that for a couple of other distributions over the last couple of months. So it's getting to be old hat for us at this point. So it should be fairly efficient. But right now, for everybody to kind of earmark it, it would be September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, weather permitting, from about 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And it's a drive-through pickup.
Okay, thank you. And just one other quick question. I'm glad that we got this not Chromebook, because it's other things besides Chromebooks, but this technology grant, I'll just call it. I was again just curious when we might start to see some of them delivered to our school system. And also just wanted to clarify, a lot of them are to replace older units. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're going to do some replacing of older units, but we still, obviously there's a couple of places we're going to be getting them, and and right now I don't know when they will arrive. I know that they have been promised, but I do not know when they will arrive. So that piece I'm not quite sure about, which is why I haven't put out a ton of info on it yet, because it's unclear. Other than the pledge has been made, it's unclear exactly when.
Okay, thank you. I'm done.
Let's go to Griffin.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you, Dr. Willett. I know this has been a ton of work trying to iron out all these details. I just had a question about when the students are in the in-person classes, like say in cohort A is in class, will those videos be recorded so that kids can watch it later that day? The reason why I'm asking this is I'm concerned about technical difficulties, either with kids with their own home Wi-Fi, or, I'm sure a lot of us heard about what happened with Zoom on Monday. And I know, for example, my daughter's in college, so she was actually in her in-person class on Monday. So she got her lecture, but none of the kids that were not in class were able to see it. So what ended up happening is she was supposed to have class again today. She was supposed to be the Zoom class, but he had to repeat Monday's lesson to the kids that were in class today, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I'm just concerned can kids watch it later that day if, say, Algebra 1, Monday, second block, for whatever reason they can't watch it? Can they watch it later that day, or will they have to wait to get the lesson when they go in person. Does that make sense?
It does. So there's, it does totally makes sense. So, so basically it's going to fall, if I had to sort of truncate it into three base categories of what will happen. In some cases, it'll be a whole video. It may be the entire span of the class. In some classes are 84 minutes long. So that may be the case, especially in some shorter blocks when there was a presentation that a student has to come back and see. Or there may be a video that comprises what that instruction, has in it for, a block of time. So it could be that it runs the whole block of the class. It also could be that certain chunks or parts are videos. So the most crucial pieces to help students have comprehension and understanding are broken into a series of videos. So in an 84, I keep going back to 84 because the high school typically has a long block period, but you could also do something like this in the middle school's period of 60 minutes roughly. But let's just go back to the 84 kind of an example. You may have a 40-minute video and then followed by some kind of Q&A follow-up and then another chunk of activity that they do. So that video would be there, and then the teacher will probably have some office hours or interaction time. So if a child does miss a certain aspect of it, they can go back to the content of the Google Classroom. They can see the documents that were created. They can see the video, either pre-recorded or recorded at the time that highlights the instruction or the most important instructional elements. And then they could go and access the teacher on, say, a Wednesday during their office hours and say, I had a real technical difficulty Tuesday, and I saw the video and I read the materials. I just have 1 or 2 questions about it, and they'd be able to interact with the teacher on that day and get some information in the office hours or at that time in a small group. So it'll either be that there is a whole video that runs the whole span, or that there's pre-recorded chunks of video that are there to be reviewed along with other materials, or some semblance of that kind of thing. And so they should be able to access it at a later time and still be able to have a very strong comprehension of what was brought up in the class.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all I have, Ashley.
Okay. Dr. Willie, I just had a couple of questions.
Sure.
For the grant, I know that will provide the technology, whether it's Chromebooks or laptops. Are we purchasing the cases and everything's going to be ready to go? Do we know like how that's going to, I just want to make sure that once we get them that we're ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be prepping to deploy as fast as possible and to get as close to one-to-one as quickly as possible as we can. Right now, I just became aware that we received it, so I don't really have any more information about the when. But we are preparing right now to make a fast turnaround of them as they arrive or when they arrive. But that piece, I'm not sure. Once they get to us, I'm certain we'll be getting them out very rapidly to where we need to deploy them. But as in terms of when they come in, that's going to be the holdup. It could be, I guess if we're looking at supply chains right now, it could be as late as October before we would get any of them. But it's just conjecture right now as to the exact time of arrival.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, to make sure that once we get the actual, whatever Chromebook or laptop, that we have the cases to go for them. We have things lined up so that we can. 43 seconds, that's pretty good for the PPE, but
Right.
I just want to make sure that we can get everything out as soon as we possibly could. So that's what my question was.
Yeah.
And the other question I had, I know a lot of parents, I don't know, I know it sounded like you still had some other stuff you wanted to touch base upon, but I know that bus questions came up a lot. So I don't know if you want to talk to any of that.
Yeah, I can. Right now, busing is not going to be that different for most children than it was. They're going to their bus stops. Those are identified. They come. They get picked up. Bus transportation will be there'll be far fewer children on the bus. Partial in person or hybrid, so to speak, has really reduced those numbers, and many are driving. So Right now the bus company is in the process of analyzing the information that we're giving them. The new information we're giving them about who's remote and who's still on the routes. They're going to rerun those, and we should be able to publish some updated information. But right now, say if we're K5 students will be picked up at bus stops in the morning, typically like they have been, and they'll be brought to Birch Grove, and they'll usually get there between something like 8:30 and 8:50, which is roughly what people have expected. The K5 students will be brought home from Birch Grove and TIS starting at about the same general time that you'd expect them to, about 3:20 to 3:45. And so none of that kind of thing really changes that much. For those in-person days, it's very, very similar. Midday runs, in the midday runs, we're talking now on the kindergarten side, the midday runs are getting brought home at around 11:30, and the pickup for the PM groups are around 12:30. And so where, there are some cases, not all, but some cases where there may be some pickups at people's doors for the midday run, if that's where the route goes and that kind of thing. K and pre-K have their own runs in the midday, but for those kids in that age group, we have to drop off with an adult at the stop. So that age group of the really young kids has certain pieces of it that are slightly different, like the adult has to be there and things like that. But in general terms, most people's bus experience will be very similar, if not exactly, to what it was typically for timing and things like that. And of course, the exception there is those AM PMs. They're going to get picked up in the morning like they normally would. The AMs go home at around 11:30. The PMs coming in around 12:30 and going home 3:20 to 3:30, that kind of thing.
Perfect. Like I said, I just know that they had a lot of questions. I believe someone had wrote in just asking like what the protocol is. Are you having students come in the bus as filing in, they're sitting in the back of the bus to the front of the bus? Are you still segregating the kindergartners up front just to keep an eye on
the first student will have they have their bus protocols that are pretty much defined the way you're speaking of them right now, and they're also included and will be updated in the document. They will be making it really clear to the kids as they join and board, what the new protocols in, where they're sitting, how they're boarding, all of that. And we will be following those and following the recommendations of the state. We're all in the same, mindset about the goal being to make sure that we maximize the space and we keep it safe and all of the important things that, that we want for our own children. So, we're in a really good place. Everybody right now, again, kudos to the board and others, setting it to September 8th has just given us the time to make sure that all, that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. People will have their information by August 31st or September 1st. We'll have all of the pieces that we need in place, and, we'll be able to move forward. The one piece that'll be a little bit new will be all the tech. So some of the tech might choke, but I expect that most people will feel that that the rest of it is fairly straightforward and what they're used to.
Okay, perfect. Kate has her hand up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just had a couple of follow-ups about Chromebooks, and I feel like we stole your thunder because that was probably going to be your thing next. But since we're on it, I just thought of a couple things. Does the grant cover money for the cases?
No.
Okay, so that's going to be on the parents. It's too bad we didn't. Yeah, I mean, this is great that but anyway.
Yeah.
So okay.
But just to the point, it couldn't.
No, I don't. I'm not complaining. I think it's fantastic that the state, in its benevolence, is giving us 800 something computers. I think that's fantastic. I think that we should have planned ahead of time, and we should have put money toward it. But that's a whole nother thing for a whole nother time and a whole nother budget discussion. So I was just curious if we had cases. It's cool. All right. So in terms of winning, we've won the grant. We just heard about that, right?
Yes.
So then we have to wait for the money to come through. Then we have to put through a PO. Then we have to wait for the embargo to be lifted. Then we have to wait for them to be delivered. Then we have to wait for them to be imaged. And then they can be deployed to the students, right?
Well, yeah, well,
kind of the
there's a
timeline?
little bit of difference this time in that this is actually, we're getting the devices.
Okay, fantastic. That's awesome. So they already have them like in some little warehouse somewhere?
Well, I don't know that, yeah, I don't know they have them in a warehouse, but there is specific, we are getting these specific configurations of devices that, you know, we actually got a lot more out of this than I thought that we were going to get. So this one, when originally was applying for it and filling it out, I didn't think we'd get what we were getting. So we're actually getting a really good thing here. And but this is actually the devices. They're shipping us the devices.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, in terms of like getting them secured with the Tolland schools and all that, I'm imagining.
That
Okay.
will still have to happen. Yeah.
Okay, so that'll have to happen. And what's the staff look like for that, Dr. Willett? How many folks do you have working on that?
Yeah. Well, we have 3 really super
Three tech-
hardworking
tech
people.
folks.
Yeah. And we have an educational tech person who's awesome. They're all awesome.
No doubt. I was
But
just
we have
curious.
about we have 3 that are doing a lot of the IT, and we have about 1 that's doing more of the IT ET. But they're all working very hard and
IT, ET, educational tech for the right?
Right.
Not extraterrestrial. Okay, so sorry.
I think if it was ET, he could just wave the finger around and everything would appear, and we'd be
Get a
all
phone
set.
out. I don't know. Thank you. Sorry. So
Half the audience
that's
is
great.
lost now.
I was just thinking that if you need, I know a long time ago, I think it was Andy Powell. I'm not sure. You'll correct me if I'm wrong. He said like there's some tech folks that might be able to help out and volunteer to do something. So if there is, I think it was Andy. I don't know. Karen would know. So
And he's
anyway.
on the tech advisory board.
Yeah,
there you go.
They're a brain trust. They're a great brain trust. But as far as deployment, it's the hands-on kind of thing. I don't know. They all have jobs.
What? We can't just get more volunteers?
Yeah, I don't know if they are going to be available for us for that. I just as an aside, I'm noticing Tony Holt is entering the building.
Okay,
so everybody
thank
knows.
you. That's all I had on that. I appreciate it. It's very exciting. It's a really great move towards equity. I'm appreciative of your work to get this grant for our kids.
Let's go to Griffin.
Thanks, Ashley. Dr. Willett, I know when we had talked in FFC last week, we had talked about possibly using the ERF to pay for Chromebooks. This was before you got this wonderful news. So I'm just curious, would we be able to pay for the cases out of the ERF?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could. Yes, I think we could make the argument that this is an extension of the technology. And what we want to do is we want to see how this plays out, and then we'll know what we need to do with the ERF. So I'm very hopeful, and there's no reason for me to believe that it won't play out exactly as it was described. But until I see things and touch them, I'm not always ready to to say that.
Really? You don't trust the state?
So many hardworking people doing so many great things, but I when I see that with my own eyes, I will then step 2 will happen.
Yes, sounds good. Okay, great. Yeah, because I know when we talked a much lower number last week, so that was just very exciting. That hopefully, so I will as well keep my fingers crossed that you actually get a monstrous delivery shortly. So, all right, thank you.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I was blown away. It's just really awesome. The state is helping a lot.
Great, thanks.
Anyone else? Karen, did you have your hand up? I thought I saw it. Did you take it down?
I changed my mind. I'm good.
Oh, okay. Just making sure. So, Dr. Willett, do you have anything else that you would like to add at this time for the reopening? Because it sounded like you had more, but you were holding back.
In 20 seconds? Or less? I think I'm good. I think I've sucked all the virtual oxygen out of the room at this point. But No, I'm good. I'll keep posting things to the blog, and people, please keep coming to the open forums, and there's a great place to ask questions, and reach out in any way that they can. So we're good.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Wells. This is really awesome, and especially for a year that we don't really know what's happening. So very good news.
It is.
Let's go to the committee and liaison reports. And Tony, you are joining us. Just so you know, we did move the correspondence to after the committee and liaison reports, which I don't think there's many. So if you could have yourself ready for the correspondence, that would be fantastic. You're not off the hook.
Yeah, I'll try. My apologies.
Oh, he's back in a room.
Georgia today. I'm back in that. Yeah.
Oh no.
It's been quite the morning.
But I believe at this time, I know FFC did meet. Did we have anything with Birch Grove as well? I believe so. Yep. And everything else was. Remind me if I'm off, because all the weeks kind of combined. But I think those are the two that we would have. So, Griffin, if you want to go with the FFC.
Sure.
Birch Grove.
Okay. FFC met last Wednesday. We went through the facility agreement with the town, and there was some discussion that the town wants us to put in our capital project the replacement of the turf field at the high school. So we all kind of said that we need some further information about this and discussions with the town. We also discussed the COVID expenses to date. I think it was approximately 200,000 has been spent on some of the things like cots and bottle filling stations and other things that are specific to opening the schools. So we also need to finalize this fund with the town council. We talked about the grants for the Chromebooks, so that was a nice update since last week. And we also talked about the daycare options that we were providing to teachers and residents. And I guess the Family Resource Center has really stepped it up, and they're kind of, bringing in more people to more staff, and our teachers will be given the option to use the FRC. It will not be a board expense, though. It will be something that the teachers would be paying for. We're just kind of providing the option for them to have it. And then if there's leftover space, that will be available to residents on their hybrid off days, if you will. And that was pretty much all we had. Thank you.
Well, it seems like an awful lot, so pretty good. Dana?
Okay, let me refer to my notes here. Yes, we had a meeting last week for Birch Grove Committee. Your progress is moving on phenomenally. I know that on Superintendent Willett's page and some of the school pages, he had a panoramic view of the construction sites of that last beam that was signed by so many folks in the community and supporters of the rebuild. But the really big win that I wanted to talk about is the playground. That is going to be able to be utilized this school year for our students at Birch Grove, the new playground. Once we get the blessing from the state that we can utilize it. So it's going to be another opportunity. We're using both playgrounds for our kids at Birch Grove to be a little bit more socially distant, be able to separate the children in different aspects. So yeah, that's a huge win. For any of you who've been down to the site, I know we can't really have access directly, but you can see the progression of the Birch Grove building, and it is phenomenal. And Dr. Willett has been posting updated videos and pictures and stuff on Superintendent Willett page. But the playground's such a win. It's such an awesome opportunity for our kids to be safe who are back at Birch Grove this year. So thank you, Ashley. That's all I have.
No, that's exciting too, to just get the kids out in fresh air and using a playground. I mean, that's fantastic. I think they only had a field with the ball, right? They didn't have anything last year, so at least
there was a small playground, yeah, and
small
field and stuff. So it is another opportunity for those kids to get spread out. And I mean, they have the field, the blacktop, and now the two playgrounds. So it's a great opportunity to spread out and be socially distant and safe, and utilize hopefully knock on wood, that we'll continue to have some really nice weather so they can be outside for as long as we possibly can.
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just want to make sure that I'm not forgetting anybody else at this time.
I was just gonna report a little bit about we didn't meet for communications, but and then I just had a quick question for Dana about Birch Grove. Dana, the playground, I thought I heard it's just a matter of inspections that have to happen through the state and something else for the playground, and then we should be able to use it, right?
That's correct. The building committee approved for us to go ahead. As soon as we start utilizing it, we start paying on, or we start having the warranty on it and those kind of things. So that was something that we talked about the last meeting. So it was a matter of opening it in the next following school year, having the opportunity to open it this school year. But yes, we need to have the blessing and the authorization. They have to come and inspect it and do all of that. But that's, I think, as far as Antonetta had advised, it's a matter of formality and getting that processed.
That's awesome. Terrific.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the kids.
I know, right?
They're going to be like, out of their minds. And then also kudos to Laurel Leibowitz from our FRC for the amazing work she's doing and getting care in place for families. That's really awesome. And I also heard that Star Hill, I saw something from Star Hill that they are also offering childcare programming or something. So if anybody's at the meeting tonight and is looking, I think that's an option.
Also, just Carol Hiller. It's Laurel and Carol.
And Carol,
They're
yes.
both working hard together.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
don't
everybody that works for Laurel, I know they're working really hard to.
don't be there. They're great. I just want to throw that in
Yeah,
there too.
yes. No, I remember Mrs. Hiller from when my kids were little. And then just about a few things with communications. I was just gonna say, sorry, I'm looking for my notes. So we'll meet on the 9th, probably before our Board of Ed meeting that night. And I believe everyone on the board should have been notified via the, I guess via the party committee chairs, which actually came from the town manager, to quote, encourage the elected officials in town to be careful with posting misinformation or untrue statements on social media. While elected officials are ultimately accountable to the residents of Tolland for their actions, free speech doesn't necessarily cover untrue information. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone got that. And I'm sure we're going to be having more conversations about, you know, communicating with the public and social media, et cetera. And I'm wondering if, you know, when we do our goals or whatever, I'm not sure how we want to do that. But, you know, whether it's a special meeting, I feel like it's going to be an intense conversation, and maybe we need to dedicate some specific time to it. So just my suggestion. Thanks.
Okay. Any other members? Tony?
Yeah, I just wanted to say due to craziness here.
You are really breaking up, Tony.
Committees was
Tony, you're really breaking up. Do you think that maybe you can call in and maybe that would be less jumpy, because your internet is very.
Yep. I'll try.
Okay. Perfect. So it wasn't my internet, correct? You never know.
No.
You never know sometimes. Griffin, did you still have something? Because your hand is up.
Yeah, Tony, is he like in his hole in his bunker somewhere there?
Yeah.
Karen, I'm sorry. Did you say we got an email? I don't remember something. Do you know who was it from?
So it should have come from your party committee chair or someone from your committee.
Okay. All right, I'll have to go back through my emails. I don't remember seeing anything like that, but perhaps I just missed it.
Maybe you want to reach out to them.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Dr. Willett, is Tony by chance calling in? And
Yeah, I'm watching for anyone to add. I see him still there video wise.
yep, but he has a little thing in his ear. I'm figuring he's making a call.
Yep, I'm looking, I'm watching.
Let's give him 1 minute, and then we will continue. We still have these to go through.
Tony looks like, well, okay, he's still dialing, I think. This is where we need some elevator music just to kind of
Well, now I think his whole thing is like frozen, so I'm
segue.
not holding my breath on this one. I could just skip down to my chairperson. I don't really have necessarily a chairperson report. I just wanted to make the statement that I know all the kids are excited to go back to school, and everyone is excited to start everything, to have normalcy somewhat. And, you know, I just want to make sure that the fear and anxiety that all parents have, it doesn't kind of reflect on the poor kids that are already so nervous to go into classrooms. I think about the little kindergartners and all those going on the bus. Like I said, I mean, I even have that high schooler, which, you know, he's going to go to the orientation, but just being that first time high school parent and not knowing how it works. I have friends that reach out to me. They're like, oh my God, how's the middle school work? And I'm like, oh, I can help you with that. But it's one of those that I'm excited for kids to start going back. And, you know, I do see things happening to them physically and mentally. And, you know, it's just nice to get back to having their friends around and learning and, you know, have that little slice of normalcy. So that was all I really wanted to say for that.
Actually, I think we might have him now.
Okay, Tony, are you on mute on your phone?
*9 will put your hand up there, Tone. I don't know if, so I see a hand up on 8830. I think that's him.
We can't hear you though. Nothing, Tony? Okay. Okay. So we can go to, we're going to move on to the board action so that we can discuss the,
So I can give you a basic overview of these, and Tony can mime it as I do it in video format. He can mime, maybe. So I'll just walk us through these. So as you know, for K1, we're talking policy 1030, non-discrimination. This is the second read of this policy. Shipman and Goodwin recommend an index policy for non-discrimination policies. So this community engagement series policy is designed to provide the public with a general non-discrimination statement followed by where the specific non-discrimination and non-harassment policies can be found. So it helps ensure that all the right policies exist. It's a new policy, so there's no red line, and a 504 section for adults is being added as 4171. Therefore, the language of it doesn't include 4171 as that's getting developed. So this is not any different from the last time you read it. The only edit or any change at all is just that 504 policy for adults now has a number. So if you're looking at page 2, you'll see that the difference there was it talks about policy 5070, sex discrimination, sexual harassment, policy 4030, and then following that, it's policy 4171, section 504 ADA personnel. So that's the only change between last time and this time. Otherwise, this is same thing as you've seen last time.
so at this point, I will entertain a motion to approve this policy 1030. And then we can also discuss that after.
I do see Tony is somewhere in the zone of being back, maybe, or not. I don't know. Tony, are you there?
Test it. Is this a test?
We can hear you.
We hear you.
We're going to call that success then.
At this point, I don't know if you still want to make that comment on the committee liaisons, because we did move to the K1 for the policy 1030, and Dr. Willett did read through it, and I will entertain a motion to approve it, and then we can also still have that discussion.
I move to approve policy 1030 as written.
You'll need a second. I
Yeah,
think.
second. Yeah.
Everybody's got to wake up. We need a second here. We need somebody to throw.
Dr. Willett, this is Dana. This is Dana Philbin. I second.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'm just making sure we're all on the same page here that we need.
I think maybe I'm in Australia.
I thought we were waiting for Tony.
There's a reason why I have this much caffeine here for this time of evening.
What is it? The jet lag is coming to all of us too, Tony. I don't know. Time difference.
No, that was perfect, Dr. Willett. Okay, so at this point, I'd like to open up the discussion. If any members have anything that they would like to say, could raise your blue hand and I can go through it. Griffin, is your hand up from before or is it a new hand?
Oh, sorry, it's from before. There we go.
Okay, Karen?
Yeah, Dr. Willett, you call this an index. Is that just basically this has to be like a one place to find all of the policies that refer to non-discrimination?
Right. So these are typically referred to as index policies so that someone could, by just checking it out, see where all the other ones are to get a reference point for, you know, what the numbers are so that they can look them up and all of the relevant information. You know, it also identifies Suzanne Waterhouse as the Director of Human Services, and, you know, all of this should be a one-stop shop for everybody to, you know, to get a good sense of where all of the non-discrimination, you know, information is and where to find the various policies within the policy documents.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have a quick question about this, Dr. Willett. I was just curious, this is a little technical question, but since you mentioned someone's name, Suzanne's name up in here, if she were to retire and we put someone else in that position, would we have to change the policy because her name is listed in the policy?
We would, but
Okay.
but they do require that we name people.
Okay.
Certain people that are in certain roles have to be named in certain places. So, but the short answer is yes, we'd have to modify that.
Okay, that's okay. I was just curious.
Sure.
Okay. Any other members at this time have any discussion about this? No. Okay. So all those in favor can say aye, any opposed can say no, or you can abstain. So let me get my little thing here since the share screen. Karen.
Aye.
Griffin.
Aye.
Jacob.
Aye.
Dana.
Aye.
Tony.
Aye.
Kate.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. This passes unanimously. And it's weird, Tony, having you said aye and on the screen, but your phone thing lit up. It kind of threw me off. So we can go to the next one. K2.
So I'll just do a quick lead in that this is a civility policy the policy committee has been working on. I'm going to hand it off to Tony now that he's here with respect to this. If Mr. Holt would like to kind of do the rest of the narrative on it. And if not,
Certainly.
I can do it. Okay.
I was going to say, Dr. Willett, with my reception the way it is, if you want to go ahead and walk through it, then it might be easier for them to hear.
Okay, sure. I just didn't want to steal any thunder there. So the policy committee has been working on the civility policy over the last couple of policy meetings. Such policies are intended to promote mutual respect, civility, and orderly conduct among the members of an organizational group. So policies such as these are meant to encourage productive and respectful interactions, behaviors, proceedings. The Connecticut Association of Boards of Education has a model policy that served as a basis for the conversation and for the attached document. So as is typically the case, there's information here also about how to move this forward in terms of the motion, should the board decide to do that. And, and at this point, if you take a look at the next page here or the next few pages, you can get an articulation of, each of the line items that the policy committee went over, and each was discussed. And, and Mr. Holt looked to get people's sense of this, shared it with the committee, and brought it to the board for the board review that you see right now. So, at this point, I could go through every one of these, but again, its purpose is to keep things going in the direction that everybody wants them to be going, and that the policy committee did give this a lot of time in the last couple of meetings.
Okay, so at this point, I would entertain the motion to approve the, was it 9200 civility policy?
Ashley,
Madam Chair?
is this our first reading or no?
No, this is
No, this is the second
Okay, I
reading.
misunderstood the way it's written there. Okay.
Yeah, this would be the second reading.
Yep.
So, Madam Chair, I move to accept the civility policy as written.
Jacob Murray, I second.
Okay, and let's have some discussion. Could board members please raise their blue hand and we can go through it. Kate.
There was an edit that we made, Mr. Holt, on number 11, and I'm surprised not to see it here. Respect the rights of the minority while working toward the will of the majority. I don't remember the exact wording, but we had worked on that, and so it's not updated. So I will not be voting to, not just because of this, but I'm not comfortable continuing with this civility policy as is. So that's one issue that I have. In addition, I have the issue that there's a couple of, I'm very concerned with this policy because I don't know if it has any teeth, and I don't know if it's even worth our while to consider it when, we don't have any particular recourse for, discussing when members violate the civility code. So those are my two concerns. Number one, that number 11 wasn't updated. And then number two, that there's going to be no real accountability. So those are my concerns.
Kate, I just had a question. Do you happen to remember what that 11 was changed to?
No, I'm not the chair, so I don't have that. I would expect that Mr. Holt would have that.
Okay. Let's go through. So Karen?
Yeah, I mean, Kate kind of said what I was going to say, but I kind of feel the same that, we can create any policy around civility that we want, but if it doesn't have any accountability attached to it, then I'm not really comfortable supporting this draft. I also wouldn't support it unless we have some kind of connection to social media within the policy, either direct language or a connection to a separate policy that would be attached to this. I would also suggest that at the very least, we should be adhering to the same policy our district employees do. We believe it's policy 4041, but I'm sure there's other things we can look to for guidance on this, but I really think that there needs to be a connection to social media as well as accountability.
Tony?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Nope, and yeah, and just a quick note, Kate is absolutely right. Number 11 was edited. Dr. Willett and I bounced back and forth a couple of times earlier this week, making sure that what he had was the final draft, and it looks like somehow that didn't come forward. So I need to look at that. But as far as the other points that were being brought up, I'd like to say one thing, that one, as we've talked about, a social media policy is a separate policy that's been requested for the policy committee to look at. So that was not intended during the subcommittees to be a part of this. And it was intended to be something that gets put on the agenda, and at some point later we'll look at it and we'll discuss that. Now, whether or not that's the same as what our district employees do or not, we'll really come up in that conversation. But also, the second point in that is that this policy, as you see there with respectfully the number 11, did get voted out of committee. So it was approved to bring it up to this board. That at least at the time it was something that the committee approved of and supported. Thank you.
Okay, well, it does concern me that if number 11 is not the updated version of what was discussed, I do believe that we should be voting on an item that is fully complete. So therefore,
could we table this?
We still, well, the motion's still on the floor to approve it as is. Therefore, I would believe that, would we have to vote this down to bring it up? Like, I mean, we could still have some more discussion about it, but I think ultimately, like I said, I don't feel comfortable if number 11 is not the actual, the writing that was discussed. But I'd like to go through other board members, but that is definitely something that we need to think about. So whether we need to withdraw the motion, we could do that as well. But like I said, I still would like to have some discussion. Jacob.
Okay, so I guess I have a question and a comment. Question to Mr. Holt. Do you have a copy of what the revised number 11 would look like? What was the change? Or can you at least try to summarize it? I'm just curious.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there, Jake. Were you finished with that, guys?
I finished. I'm just curious what number 11 was supposed to look like.
Oh, and that's I'm trying to find over here. I've got to log on to my server, but
okay.
I'm trying to find that number 11.
Okay.
But Kate's absolutely right. We changed the wording of that while maintaining the intent.
Okay. All right. And I guess and when you have that up, we can answer that question. I'll just say my comment. I feel that this is a good first step and a good effort to have this policy. You know, even if it's more of a code that you try to live by rather than a firm rule. You know, I think there's probably inherent difficulties in having something that is trying to enforce board members to do something if the board itself is, or if it's a board policy. But I think certainly having this all articulated and having us all know that and kind of hold ourselves to it informally is still useful. That's all, Ashley.
Okay. Griffin?
Yeah, actually, I really am going to echo what Jacob said. I absolutely agree with that. I think that, you know, there's a certain amount of personal accountability that we all should kind of hold ourselves to. So I like the policy. I don't have any problem with it, obviously, except, you know, as soon as we see what number 11 should actually be, but I don't have any problem signing this or agreeing to it rather. And I think it's a way to hold ourselves to a higher standard. So I look forward to seeing what number 11 should be. Thank you.
Dana?
Hi, can you hear me? Yep. Okay. Thank you, Ashley. First, number 11 isn't up on the screen. So Dr. Willett, would you mind scrolling up or making it? Thank you. Sure. And I just wanted to read it. Respect the rights of the minority while working toward the will of the majority, and recognize the importance of achieving consensus as an important tool in the community building. So that's the one that does need to be most definitely reworded and rewritten. I think as a board member, I'm concerned with this, and I look forward to the revision, because even the letter that was sent in to the commissioner without being fully inclusive to all board members is just indicative of including the minority and respecting the rights of the minority while working towards achieving consensus. So that's a concern for me. I guess we all do need to have our own respective accountability. But I guess Ashley, and I guess the question would be to Christina as well as a chair and vice chair. How would we manage, and how would accountability work through you with this?
No, that is a good question. I do see it more as, you have these standards written on here, and I still think even as it's written with 1 through, what do we have, 22? I mean, it still breaks it down, but I still feel like there are places that people will read a number and twist it to however they would like to use it as. I just think that in all, for the way that the board has been, I think by having at least a list of a way of, I guess, acting and the way that you should hold yourself accountable itself, I think it is important to have that. I'm actually kind of surprised. There are a lot of boards that seem to have it. I don't think many of them go as in depth. I mean, I guess this is almost what they used to have before, like the working between the Board of Ed and the town council. This is just for the board itself. So I don't know. That's how I feel about this.
Okay.
If I may.
Hello? Okay. So I guess to piggyback on that is, I'm not disagreeing with the policy. I think we 100% need it. I think we need to lead it by example as the Board of Education for our community. We need to act appropriately to our community. However, I had a conversation with our chairperson in regards to civility and respectfulness, and the response that I got is we are all adults and we're going to behave how we're going to behave no matter what direction is given. So I guess my concern is, if we're all adults and we're going to behave as all adults and we're going to own our own responsibility, why even roll out a civility policy if we're not going to, one, adhere to it, or to be held accountable or structured by it? Because you can have a policy all you want, and I agree with a lot of this that's written. However, there needs to be accountability to it, and we need to be held to it, to that structure. So I guess, again, my question is, once this is instituted, how is the accountability going to be held with this policy?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's keep going. Are you all set, Dina?
So you're not gonna answer my question about how
No, I think it is something that I do think, that this is an actual rules that everyone should be required to at least somewhat fulfill, because I mean, our board is very, they don't really work well together. So I think that this is a good stepping stool to have everyone at least on the same page, and then we can go from there. Like you said, I mean, people are adults. I can't tell people how to behave and how to react. I mean, I brought up things to certain people and it's not always taken very well. So there's nothing else that I can really do to that.
So, okay. I guess I'm just taken aback then again, if there's nothing else to do to it, why have a policy that's not going to be upheld or monitored or accountable? People are going to be held accountable for it. Because if you have a policy and we say we're all going to be adults, I did not say that. Those were the words that you said. Why have a policy if there's going to be no accountability to it? That's just, and I guess that we're not going to get there tonight. I'm not going to waste anybody else's time on it, or your time, or the board's time. But my point would be is, why have a policy if there's going to be no accountability and no follow-up? And I'd hope that our leader would try to drive cohesive and civility and respect. So I'm hoping that we can find that. I'm hoping we can work together to work in the accountability aspect within this policy maybe, and adhere to it and do what we can as a Board of Education and lead by example for our community. And that's all I have. Thank you, Ashley.
And I do have a question. I mean, Tony, did you guys talk about accountability in terms of the policy? Is that a discussion?
Yep. Can you hear me here?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yes, and a couple of other things. Let me start with, I do have the number 11 as was discussed. I was able to pull that up, so I can read that, Madam Chair, whenever you'd like. But as far as Dana's question, and I think Ms. Karen also referenced that of accountability, I think we discussed, or at least put out there on the last meeting, that this policy is not intended to be punitive. You know, it is not intended to say, do this, or here's going to be your punishment. I believe if you go through many of the BOE policies that are on there, they don't have that if then. And they have the declaration of this is how we intend to operate. In this case, this is how we believe that we can act and that we should act. And it's a declaration to the community and to ourselves that we're putting this in our policy, not if we do this, then here is going to be the result. I think if we start looking for each of our policies to then have a punitive or demand some level of accountability, then we're going to have to rewrite many of them. But yes, we did talk that, and we just settled on the fact that this was, again, meant to be just that declaration of things that we believe were important. Now, as far as the number, and I think Madam Chair, you made a comment about it, you know, the 22, and that there's a lot of these points. We took this, as Dr. Willard mentioned, based on the format that Kate had presented. We also took a look at districts across the country, a place in Georgia, there was a town in Tennessee, there were about a half a dozen different ones that we looked at and got rid of most of them, then settling down on these 22. But again, I do have the number 11 as we look at it over here. So if you want to hear that, just let me know and I can do that.
I would like to see what that number 11 is, because I think that helps. Therefore, we make sure that we have what that 11 is. If you don't mind just saying what it is.
Absolutely. The number 11 was respect the diverse opinions of the community while working towards the will of the majority of the community via elected officials, and recognize the importance of achieving consensus as a tool of community building.
So essentially you combined 11 and 12 on the page that we have.
Essentially. It reiterates it in 12, but 11, that's the way it came out.
Okay.
Ashley.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, can we put the new 11 on the screen? Can Dr. Willett put it on the screen, and can we vote on it and somehow put in the motion that it is based on number 11 as rewritten?
Dr. Willett,
yes, well,
yeah, Tony or Mr. Holt, can you just throw that at me in an email?
Yep, I've got it right here.
That way I will copy paste.
Yeah, what I have,
But
Dr.
just
Willett,
a note.
I just want to make sure we're getting it exactly verbatim.
Yeah, I'll forward it to you now, Dr. Willett. But just a note to what I think it was Ms. Griffin that asked that question. That is the intent of the discussion on the second read, is that red lines that the board requests can be put onto the document and then it can be approved as such.
Okay, so I basically have that 11 and 12 are combined.
Just a quick question, procedural question. So if we do that, but oh, sorry, did I interrupt someone?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to go through everybody just to make sure.
Okay, sure.
Just to make sure that everyone gets their time to speak. And then we will go through. I know Dr. Willett's going to put up 11 on there, so it's actually updated. And like I said, I'd like to continue going through all the board members, and then we can go through there. Griffin, did you already talk? I can't remember.
I did, but thank you.
Okay. Kate.
I would just point out that you said, Madam Chair, if people are just going to twist this to their own devices. So why are we bothering? Like, are we just giving each other more tools to, like, you know, beat each other up? I'm not down for that. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to work toward you know, the welfare of our kids and teach them well and make sure that they have what they need. That's what I'm here for. And then if, you know, Mr. Holt, you said that this policy isn't intended to be punitive, and your argument is that, you know, policies would all be punitive. That's not the point, right? That's not the point. That's not what we're going for. What I think that, what I want to know is what's the teeth? Like, so if a board member takes it upon themselves to write a nasty, not social media, but because that's not in this, but if they take it upon themselves to speak for the board, so what's going to happen? Like, so what's going to happen? And I'm looking at leadership, and not to be disrespectful. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just want to understand, you know, because to me, if I look at the two communiques that came from various and sundry groups of board members, I think that number 4, number 5, and number 7 were already violated, and we're coming into this policy with folks already violating it. So my question is, so what, right? So, and I don't, again, that's not disrespectful. It's like kind of a, like, so what? What's next? Is this really going to have merit? Is it going to change anybody's behavior? I don't know. You know, I'm just kind of at a crossroads with it, because I don't really understand how it's going to make education better in Tolland. That's all I got to say.
You know, I just think that it should be something looked upon as a positive, and that perhaps that we can use this as the board coming together and moving forward. I do see that. Let's go to Karen.
Yes, thanks. So I was just going to say that, you know, when we worked on things with the town council like this, it was a working agreement. It wasn't a policy. So if we're going to get back to doing our goals, what we should be doing is do our goals, and then we should be coming up with some kind of maybe specific working agreement among ourselves. I still feel that a policy like this, if it does not include specific language around social media, then it's not going to work. Because like Kate said, we've already had violations of all over the place as far as social media. And I just, you know, we need to be able to have faith that you're going to follow through with something as our chair, Ashley, and you're going to follow through with some kind of accountability behind it. If you're just saying that, you know, oh, we're all adults, then, but we're not all children either. And I get it. I understand what you're saying, but you know, it's not worth anything unless there's going to be some kind of accountability behind it. I don't know. That's all I have to say. It's not, again, disrespectful or saying that we shouldn't have something like this. But if you guys want to do like a working agreement, we can work on something like that where we agree on, you know, some items. I think that's what we're trying to get at, not a policy.
Thank you, Karen. Let's go to Jacob.
Okay, so I guess my procedural question was, and maybe someone said and I forgot, but if we did want to still vote on this tonight, we would have to still kill this motion, and then we'd have to do it again with this new wording. Is that correct? We have to move to change something? Because the motion's on the floor as is, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So that's what I was actually going to double check with Dr. Willett.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he knows a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, your motion to accept it as it's stated, you have to knock that down and then come back and agree to make this amendment to it.
So Dr. Willett, can I, as the one that made the motion, can I simply rescind that motion?
Yeah, I would think you can, yeah.
And I do believe, does that need, I think that needs a 2/3 vote in order to withdraw a motion that a person makes, if I'm not mistaken. So, Tony, if you would like to withdraw, like I would like to go through everybody else to make sure there's no other questions about this, and then we can move forward, and then you can withdraw. Like I said, we'd have to vote on that, and I think that requires a 2/3 vote, if I am remembering correctly. And then we can go from there. So let's go through. Griffin, did you have something else?
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of surprised. We've been talking about this for so long. We read this, I don't remember how many weeks ago. I guess I'm just surprised that there's so much pushback on it now. I still think it's a good idea. Whether we need Ashley to slap us on the wrist when we do something wrong against it, I don't know. That's fine if that's what we're looking for. But we need something, and we need something now. And I'm just going to lay it out there. This has been probably one of the most frustrating experiences I've ever had, being on any sort of board or committee or anything in my professional work, with the amount of divisiveness in this board. So if this is a first step, I personally am willing to take this first step to try and figure out how we can all work together. So that's all I'm going to say about it. I would be fine with it.
And the other thing is we are approaching 10 o'clock. So if we want to withdraw this so that we can extend and then we can amend, that would be great. So Tony. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, Tony. Before anything happens, let's go to Dana. She has her hand up again. Dana?
All right, thank you, Ashley. I appreciate it, and I'll try to talk fast. So I definitely think that one is, I don't think that there should be any surprise about any of the pushback. I've been pretty vocal about the civility clause, as well as adhering to it and how it is needed 110%. I believe Rini and I spoke several meetings ago about us all being respectful in all aspects, whether it be through social media and in the boardroom and different things like that. So I think the pushback comes from, one, that we really need it to be a proper working agreement. Two is that we really need it to be an accurate working agreement with it. I don't think we're talking about intending it to be, I'm not specifically talking about intending to be punitive, but when you have a policy, there needs to be structure on that policy, and it needs to be driven by the leadership. Not talking about hand slapping or you did this wrong, so we're doing this, but there needs to be accountability. I mean, otherwise there's no reason for a policy. So my question was, how is that policy going to be structured? Again, hand slapping, quote unquote, I don't think is necessary, but I definitely think adhering to the policy, and then something needs to happen if someone doesn't adhere to that. I mean, that's just simple leadership and accountability. Adults, people in the workplace, people in school crave structure, crave accountability, crave feedback, crave positive reinforcement. And in any capacity that needs to be done. And so again, I'm looking for clarity on how that's going to be done in this policy. But I definitely think that once Tony removes his motion and we go to the amended, I think that we do need to have two full good reads on it with the proper accuracy and answers to several of the questions that have been laid forth in front of us this evening, so that we can, because again, you can have a policy, but if you don't have buy-in, and if the folks aren't unanimously bought into this, no one's going to adhere to it, whether we say we want to or not. Christina, as much as you, I want us to continue to move forward. I want us to work respectfully. I want us to hear our diverse thoughts and our diverse opinions, because that's how things are going to be. That's how we're going to succeed, by keeping people coming from all different sides of the table and all the different aspects and different ideas. And I think, yes, this could be definitely a first step. I definitely think that we need to put a little more structure around it and a little more detail and talk through it a little bit more and have it to be accurate, again, with some tangibility and guidelines. So that's what I have with that. And thank you, Ashley.
No problem. Tony, I will entertain a motion from you to withdraw your policy.
Yeah. So moved, Madam Chair. I move to withdraw my motion to accept the policy as written.
Do I need a second on that one, Dr. Willett? Or if he's doing it himself?
I'm sorry. As you're doing this, you motion to rescind. Second, I think you can back out of it. This would be the way forward if you wanted to do a motion to amend, and then.
Okay, because he just did his motion to resend, and like I said, this is not something that I remember, but I do think we have to vote on it as 2/3.
Right. So second, and then discussion,
Yep.
and then 2/3 vote.
I'll second it. Jacob Murray, I'll second.
Perfect. All those in favor can say aye, any opposed can say nay, and anyone can abstain. Karen?
Nay.
Griffin?
We're just voting to remove this motion.
Correct.
Okay, I'm gonna abstain.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were voting on the whole thing.
Nope. Tony put in to rescind his motion.
Okay, can I change mine to aye then? I thought we were voting on, sorry, it's getting late.
Yeah, okay, so Karen's aye. Griffin?
Are we voting on another motion or are we just?
We are withdrawing his motion right now.
All right, I'm gonna abstain then because I don't know what the heck's going on. I'll be honest.
Right.
Jacob?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Therefore, Tony's motion is now withdrawn from the floor. The next thing I would like to do is entertain a motion to extend past 10.
Ashley, this is Dana Philbin. I'd like to put a motion to extend our meeting past 10 p.m.
Jacob
Karen Moran, second.
Okay, all those in favor can say aye, any opposed can say nay, or you can abstain. Karen?
Aye.
Griffin?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
I'm also an aye, therefore we will extend past 10. Back to this. Tony, you are the one who has this motion for the policy. It is up to you if you're going to take the amendment and we can vote on
Madam
that.
Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to move to approve the civility policy with the amendment striking 11 and 12 and replacing with the language respect the diverse opinions of the community while working towards the will of the majority of the community via elected officials, and recognize the importance of achieving consensus as a tool of community building.
Jacob Murray, second.
Okay, just making sure that this, okay. Discussion on this 11. If there's anyone else that has what they'd like to say, you can have your hand raised or we can go to the vote. So Griffin, I don't know if your hand's up from before.
Sorry, no, it is. I'll put it down.
Okay, Tony?
Okay, you can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'd just like to point out that I believe having a civility policy, even one like this, is that step. I believe there's importance in stepping forward and declaring that this is what we believe is the right thing to do, recognizing that as people we're going to work to achieve it. I disagree that there's been violations of it already, but I think that's a conversation for other times. I think there's, as the subcommittee talked about before we voted to bring it before the board, there's value in saying this. There's value in putting these in front of the community and in front of ourselves and being that model. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Kate?
Yeah, just a couple things. The fact that two of our members aren't here to vote is a problem, I think. If this is going to be a tool for us to work together, then I think that they should have a say in on it. And I understand, you know, you're not here, you don't get to vote. I get that. But if this is going to be really a tool and really a way for us to move together to move forward together, then we should all be here. We should also understand what what happens when there's a violation. And we also need to call attention to that. I really it's really hurting my heart here when we say if we're going to twist this to their own devices. Like, there's enough out there. There's enough out there. There's enough negativity. There's enough, just general anxiety, especially as we transition back into opening our schools, and we don't need to be adding to it. The other thing that I just wanted to bring up is that in a normal policy, in a normal procedure, this is completely within the norm. We do a first read, the subsequent meeting, we do a second read. And I just want to remind Ms. Griffin that that's how the procedure goes. And we should be talking about it. We should be deciding on something together as a group. We should be making a group decision, and then we all vote, we all say our conscience, and we move forward. So that's how we work together. And I'm not, trying to be, again, not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just reminding folks of procedure. And, a policy is only as good as the person who doesn't follow it the worst. Like the worst offender, that's as good as that policy is. So that's just kind of a general piece. So I don't know. I'm just not, I don't feel right about this.
Okay, Griffin?
Thanks, Kate. I guess I'm just a little confused because we did talk this through already once. So this is the second read. So that's why I was saying I'm ready to vote on it tonight. Thank you.
Dana.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. As far as the being 2 full reads, I would just make sure it was 2 full reads with accuracy. So again, as Kate made mention, there are 2 board members that will be buying into this or complying with or following up with this that have not been a part of this robust discussion. I'm very appreciative of this discussion. I think there is value in it. As Tony says, in front of the community, we need to have our value and have those conversations to do it. In asking those questions. So I'll defer back to anything that we've done through this process, whether it be budget, school opening, graduation, a multitude of topics that we've had as a Board of Ed. And the constant reminder, the steady constant is, let's ask those questions. We need to ask those questions, whether they're differing or what have you. Let's ask those questions. So I don't think that anybody needs to be taken aback by the simple fact that some of us are asking questions, and it's okay to ask those questions because we are going to be held to a standard of this policy. And in order for us to understand it and to comply and be committed as a team, unanimously committed as a team, we need to understand it. And when one of our board members say that they're totally confused, they don't even know what to vote on right now, is concerning that this conversation, we really need to kind of reel it in and dial it back and take a step back and reflect on it and have it accurate so that we can read it again. I don't care if we do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 reads. I think it needs to be accurate because we're all craving structure. We're all craving unity. We're all creating inclusivity, right, for our town. And if we're in chaos right now with the actual accuracy of a civility policy, I don't feel comfortable voting on it. And I also feel that it wouldn't be appropriate for our board. I don't think it would be okay for our community to commit to something that multiple people are confused about. So again, I'll reiterate what Kate Howard-Bender said, is we don't have our whole team here. This is pieced together. Thank you, Dr. Willett, for keeping up with us and and doing your best to keep it as accurate as possible. But I definitely think that we need to have this dissected, re-put together properly and looked at, and then have a good vote and a good, solid, robust discussion again, and continue to ask those questions so we can chew on it and make the sausage, if you will, Tony, right? We have to really make the sausage or whatever it is that you say and make that sauce. So it's okay to ask questions, and it's okay to question a policy. And it's an opportunity for us to really work together and with differing opinions and really make this civility policy the Board of Ed team that we are. Whether we like what it looks like when we look in the mirror every day or we don't, this is a way for us to make it better. Take a look in the mirror. How can we impact this? How can we have our own personal buy-in and our own personal stamp, and what's going to be our footprint as a team on this civility policy? And I don't think tonight's it. I think we really need to articulate our thoughts, and we really need to grapple on it, and we really need to make it accurate and make it as effective as possible. So thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Actually, may I just reply to Dana?
No, hold on a second.
Okay, thank
what I
you.
do want to say is that, we do have the subcommittees, and I do feel that, within each subcommittee, that a lot of work does get taken, everything gets pulled apart, put back together, how they feel that it will be going to the board to be presented. And that was presented at our last meeting. And therefore, the second one today is the opportunity to have those discussions and decide how and what. I mean, I love that Kate found that the 10, the 11 and 12 were not the same that you guys have here for the amendment. But I do feel like we do need to take a first step. I really do. I feel like we need to have something written so that we can move forward and start just really trying to keep some of these ideas in the back of your head while going forward. Because it is hard. It's a very difficult time. It's, I would like to see people working together. That's where I'm at. Karen?
Yeah, just a couple things. I think that as board members, we have every right to kind of hash things out. And just because we had a first reading of it doesn't mean that you can't, think more on it and have some concerns. I was just going to say that, I don't know, even reading 11 and 12 combined, I feel like that's a role and responsibility of the board anyway, and we should be doing that. A lot of this is about roles and responsibilities as a board. So honestly, I'm looking back thinking I would love to do roles and responsibilities over again with Shipman and Goodwin or something, and have a true one meeting, roles and responsibilities for everybody, and truly understand all of us as a board, as a whole. And there have been violations of this. Yeah, the letters, we keep talking about the letters, but that was not a unified effort. That was, it came off actually very partisan, because it was just, members from the majority of the board that went ahead and did that. So that doesn't look good to the community. I think we really need to understand what our roles and responsibilities are to this community. So I think we need to do more work, either roles and responsibilities or just specifically on social media policy. I mean, if you guys want to do this, that's fine, but I don't support it unless there's a social media component to it.
Okay. Griffin.
Oh, I just wanted to clarify to Dana that I wasn't confused about the civility policy itself. I was confused about whether we were going to be voting tonight on whether 11 would be updated with the amended version that Tony had sent to Dr. Willett. So that was where my confusion lied. Thank you, Ash.
Tony.
Okay, just two quick things. One, as a response there to Ms. Moran, roles and responsibilities of the board, social media policy. A couple of the items you brought up, your discussion there, have been identified and are on the queue to be prioritized for the subcommittee to take a look at. I can send you an email when those come up on our agenda so that you can participate in the meetings. Would be absolutely happy to have you a part of it. The second thing is, we keep talking about the fact that we've got a couple of members that are absent in the vote. We do have a policy on that, 9170, which talks about quorum and voting policies and tells us that as long as we have a majority of the board, we can proceed forward with transaction of business. So having this vote is legitimate, and I think it's important.
Okay, would any members have anything else to say before we do a vote? Griffin, I'm assuming your hand's just still up, is just up.
Yes, sorry, this phone is messing me up. Thank you.
Okay. So all those in favor can say aye, any opposed can say nay, or you can abstain. Karen?
Nay.
Griffin?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Dana?
Nay.
Tony?
Aye.
Kate?
Nay.
Okay, and I'm an aye as well. So it's 4-3. Then the majority still has it, correct? For the 2/3, I'm thinking correctly. This motion still passes with the amendment of number 11. Okay. Next up is the public participation. We will go to and have anyone from the public can speak at this time. You'll be given 2 minutes. Tony will give you the 30 seconds when it's up. When you speak, if you could list your name and your address, and it has to be on items on this agenda. Mary Rose?
Oh, hello. Mary Rose DeBerrick, 37 Ryan Road. And I would just like to build upon what Christine Griffin had said about social media. It actually goes both ways. The public has to be careful expressing opinions as well, as we have been disrespected and bullied by Tolland elected officials. I've gotten caught up in conversations myself. It's a little emotional, especially, and it took unexpected turns, especially when you talk about complex and emotional issues such as education of our children. I believe our elected officials have an opportunity to build consensus in our community through responsible social media policy usage. Our children are watching. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Rose. Did you list your address?
37 Ryan Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleen?
Hey, Ashley, can you hear me?
Yep.
Got a new Chromebook here, so it's kind of quiet. All right, Colleen, you just check 12 Blueberry Hill Road. I don't know if Clerk Lisa's on the phone, and I always forget to thank her and her amazing note taken and putting everything into the minutes is great. But I just wanted to show appreciation to Dr. Willett and the LCF staff and everybody involved with the schools with getting that grant for the Chromebooks. That will be very helpful for a lot of people. I actually went out myself and bought my own. And if I knew we were getting some more, I would have definitely saved about $300. But it is kind of sad, even on the disability policy, you all can just vote unanimously on that. And again, thank you for what everybody does. And actually, I did have a question, Dr. Willett. I still have time. As far as backpacks, I know the kids can bring them into their classrooms now, but the reason I thought was always they had them in their lockers was for safety reasons. So I'm just wondering if there's any new safety measures, especially with the high school kids, bring them into the classrooms. And that was it. Thank you again.
Okay. I did see that was a good question. Anyone else at this time would like to say anything? please raise your blue hand or *9. Going once, going twice. Okay, I will close the public participation and the points of information. Dr. Willett, I did, thinking about this with the backpacks, I did read something with the high school that you're not going to the locker, that you do have your backpack, but for the younger kids, I'm assuming they're still gonna have the, put it away, how does that all work?
Yeah, so the young kids have desks. Most of them don't. So they'll have the purpose of the backpacks.
Dr. Willett, you're kind of cutting out. Is anybody else having issues hearing him? It's not just me, right? Okay.
Cutting out.
I can hear you. Yeah. Just seems odd. It almost seems echoey, kind of.
How about now?
Yeah, I think it's when you move the little thing, it's better.
Okay. Okay.
Dr. Willett, hold it. Just get the wire so they're just right.
Is it here now?
It's still.
Let me try something else. Hold on. That's failing.
That's better. You're more clear now. No, not now. I feel like I'm on a Verizon commercial.
How about now?
Perfect.
Is that better?
Yep. Just hold
Okay.
it.
All right. So, okay. So the kids Birch Grove have, have desks. So most of the kids at that pre-K2 zone are going to have desks because we took the tables out. So they'll have some areas that they can store things on. But for the vast majority, we are going with the backpacks because it's been recommended as a way of getting kids to keep their own stuff in one place. It comes in, it goes out. They can keep their shields, their face masks, their other equipment in there so that they can use it at any time, or if one gets soiled, they can bring out the other. I think the question that Mr. Duchek had was the security. So we do have safety and security committee that both on the school level and at the district level that looks at these things. Right now, compliance with and adherence to things that are going to make things better from a COVID perspective are kind of what we're leaning towards. But we will still be very vigilant about watching very carefully as not only not only admin and other staff and teachers what is in those backpacks, but a lot of times, the kids will be even more careful not to have certain things in their backpacks if they know that they're under, constant scrutiny, which is what the status will be right now. I mean, we'll be very focused on what's in there because the PPE has to be in there. They'll be constantly in and out of those backpacks. So in a way, we'll have much more energy focused on specifically what is in those backpacks just because of the nature of how they have to be used this year.
Does anyone else have any points of information at this time? Nope. Okay. We'll go to the next business of future. Dr. Willett, did you want to touch base on any of those items below?
I think they're pretty much what we've been covering before. And again, kind of circling back, we want to have the goals, and we're in the process of rescheduling that. School rounds, looking forward to having more of those this year. They're very, very informative, as I think the board knows and feels. Portrait of Graduate work is going to continue. Some of the other things, understanding about design and so on, will probably be pushing off to farther back in the school year because there'll certainly be a lot for us to focus on. But I think, mental health services, things like that, these will be the things that come to the forefront this year. And that and the Portrait of a Graduate and some other initiatives will be probably what we are grappling with first in terms of future.
Perfect. We do not have any new business, therefore I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I had a question about a future agenda item, actually.
Go ahead.
Just back to, I guess, what Lindsay was talking about earlier in her question to the board during public participation. Dr. Willett, maybe something on the agenda eventually about racism, inclusivity, things like that. Maybe an update to the board.
Okay.
About what,
Can add that, definitely.
where you're at with that, maybe.
Mhm. Sure.
Okay.
I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Jacob Mari, I move that we adjourn the August 26th Board of Education meeting at 10:18 p.m.
Dr. Will, where's your second?
We need a second, everybody.
Tony Holt,
We need a
second.
All those in favor can say aye, any opposed can say nay, or you can abstain. Karen?
Aye.
Griffin?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
I'm also an aye, therefore we will adjourn at 10:18. Everyone have a good night and stay safe with the storm tomorrow.